Okay guys, we had just a little glitch there, so I'm back. So on this side again, I have some T5 lights over these freshly repotted Heliumphora. So far so good. These were repotted about a month and a half ago. Have a really nice Darlingtonia over there. It's on the bottom southeast side of the greenhouse. And the new traps are relatively green, and then last year's actually still have some nice color, even though they're not getting really any direct sunlight, but a little from these T5s and a little from this area. I keep these insect traps, one about every 6 to 7 feet underneath, and that helps with any of the gnats, and if I see any like pest insects on it, then I'll be able to take care of them sooner rather than later. As we go up, I have a drip irrigation system for this greenhouse. So that is this solenoid right here. So I have it come on for just a few minutes a day. It goes across the bottom here and goes onto the south side because these pots dry out just a little bit quicker than everything else. Then it goes up here, and then you see this black tubing. Each one of these hanging nepenthes has a nozzle that goes right to it. So I'll plug this in and show you what it looks like when it is actually turned on. So it probably has around 200 open nozzles all on the same, same units right now. And I just run them all at once, and it doesn't really seem to be a problem. It takes about 30 seconds for the pressure to build. And then once it does, each one of these little nozzles, I believe it's a ½ gallon per hour drip. So just enough to give the hanging nepenthes a little bit of water. And in just a few seconds, I can basically water all these hanging plants. Honestly, I prefer to water by hand, but if I go on vacation or head out for a little while, that makes it so much easier on my family who takes care of them, because then I can just set it up to water for roughly a minute and a half to 3 minutes, just a couple times a day. So then as we head on down, you see that these benches here all have this new netting over the cross, the hardware net. So far I'm pretty happy with that, but it's only been there for about a month. The screening was growing too much mold and algae and who knows what else. Then over on here, I have my biggest plant in the greenhouse with this one. I think a 16 or 17 inch pitcher right now, and the whole plant is probably about 6 or 7 feet tall with a couple growing points. On this greenhouse, I have all these outlets. Again, they're all GFCI outlets, so just in case they get wet, they'll go on or off automatically, or off automatically, and then I have to turn them on. I think I have them every 10 feet, which honestly is about right. It's one of those things, it is a little more expensive, but the more outlets you have in a greenhouse, definitely the better. I wish I would have done more outlets across the top. So I have since added a couple, but these are relatively new. I wish I would have put an outlet every 7 to 10 feet down this line here where I have all my lights. It would have just been really handy instead of having to run extension cords all the way over for like the security cameras, and kind of anything else I want to run. It would have just had outlets. Put in an outlet here a little while after, and that's for this fan. This fan is hooked up, so when the first stage of my swamp coolers come on, it actually turns this one on, and this one's actually moving super fast now, but because of the frame rate, it looks like it's moving relatively slow. And then that blows nice fresh air across all of these. I'll point that down a little so you can see. The Virridula definitely like good airflow. And that is pretty much the inside of this greenhouse. I have outlets going down both sides. This actually is to protect some of these Nepenthes, especially I find Veitchii and peltata seedlings. For me, they don't like too much water on their leaves, so these go in this special chamber here that I just put one layer of polycarbonate over the top, and then I just have to hand water all of those. So the next things I'll be doing to this greenhouse, I'll add a few more lights down each of these sides, so then I'll be able to grow in basically 3 levels. I'll have plants down there, then I'll have plants right on this main bench, and then I have the plants hanging up in the rafters. Because I have so many layers of plants, they get about the right amount of sun, even with the 60% shade cloth. Everything seems to have pretty good color in here. I don't notice anything. During the summer, they might even get a little too much sun up in the rafters, but then in the winter, just the right amount. So it seems to work out about right. For watering, I just have one main hose that I can water by hand. So I can turn this, just go like this. Again, I can just use tap water for everything, and so that makes it super easy. I can go around, just give everything a quick water. Usually I try and water once a day. Not everything needs it, but at least 1 or 2 things will, and then can kind of give everything a once over. Make sure nothing has any major pests or diseases. So now we will do a quick walk down the north side of the greenhouse. This greenhouse is facing north to south. So this is, well, I guess east to west. So this is west here. So then this long side is south side. So then it gets as much sun as possible, especially in the winter. And then back this way, where all of the highland plants are, that is the north side. So it stays a little bit cooler because the sun rises on that side, which is actually east. My swamp coolers are on that side because in the afternoon, when it's a little bit hotter, the swamp coolers themselves won't be in the direct sun. And I find that is able to keep temperatures down just a little bit. So here's kind of the overview. You can see the drip system going across the top, the lighting. I just have the little light switch right here, so then I can turn it on. All these lights come on. Again, they aren't grow lights up there, just to help me so I can work during the dark in the winter mostly. Then as we walk down the side of it, we can see about how many of these screws that I use. These have a rubber washer around it so it doesn't damage the polycarbonate. I have actually had to replace the polycarbonate on the top on this side of the greenhouse because the hail we had about 2 years ago. Underneath the shade cloth was actually perfectly fine and there was no damage at all. 1 year I did remove the shade cloth in the winter, but the plants actually burned. So in Colorado, I wouldn't do that again because even in the winter, we get just crazy amounts of sun. So then looking down the whole side of it, and here we can see, here's 28 foot by 30 feet, 60% aluminate. Man, I really like this stuff. It works spectacular for me. Here are my 2 large swamp coolers. So I had one problem because for a few years I actually used reverse osmosis water for all of the greenhouse. And anyone who's dealt with reverse osmosis water knows how corrosive it can be. So it actually took the paint right off of these swamp cooler units. I probably only have another 2 years out of them before I'll actually have to replace them. Excuse me. This is on its own electrical, so I know exactly how much electricity I'm using. And as you can see right now, this side of the swamp cooler is turned on and running right now, where the other side is not. Electrical here comes in. This goes directly to the electrical pole right into here. And let's see, I probably have about, 10 or 12 breakers on this. So a little hard to read right now. So this one is my small fan swamp cooler, furnace, big fan swamp cooler. I have lights, south side outlets, north side outlets. I have a couple extra just in case I want to add anything at a later date. But so far it seems about right. Let's head on around. So I'd say that gives a pretty good overview of the greenhouse. I guess now I'll probably go and take questions for a little while. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the walkthroughs. I'm not sure if we'll post this online or not, or if it is just exclusively for you guys who are attending this webinar. But either way, I would love to hear your thoughts, what you would like to see maybe at a later date, what I didn't cover quite enough of. But as I said, this wasn't too much of a plant overview because I've done quite a few of those over the years. This was more just to show how I grow plants in greenhouses here in Colorado. The stuff that I have to deal with isn't necessarily the things that a normal or other places in the country would. As far as if you go back east, they may not get a whole lot of sun in the winter, where we get just as much sun in the summer as we do in the winter, just a few less hours, but very few cloudy days in the winter. And so that's why the Nepenthes will do so well even in the winter here in Colorado. And in the summer, it's hot during the day. So again, we're about 90 degrees today. But inside this greenhouse, we're at about 76, 77 on the far side. And they just love the cool nights. Well, thanks so much for everyone for attending. I will be live here with questions and answers later. Talk to you all soon. Over and out.